welcome to Leaders Lead Podcast. Please welcome our host, RWJ.
Yeah, that's me.
What is up, everybody? I'm Rylan Woodbury-Jones, RWJ. Welcome to Leaders Lead Podcast. I'm so glad that you're tuning in for this episode. Now, normally we got somebody sitting next to me, and what we've been doing is I've been going on this mission of being a better leader, growing from other leaders. And so Scripture says that if you walk with the wise, you will become wise. And so I've just been trying to get around good leaders, to hear from other leaders what they have to say, and maybe something that they have would speak to me, and maybe something that I've gone through would speak to them. And so we've been on this mission of becoming a better leader. Now, today we don't got anybody. Yesterday I was on a podcast with one of my friends, and he asked me, hey, Rylan, what are some leadership principles that you think make a good leader? Now, there are so many leadership principles in the Bible. If you go into Titus, if you go into Timothy, Paul's addressing leadership. He's addressing what a church leader should look like. Now, he told me, hey, those ones are awesome. We need those. What are the first 7 things that come to your mind, not just church leadership, but leadership in general? What do you think, Rylan? And so I told him, and I don't know, I thought it was good. I was preaching to myself, and I think it can encourage us. And so I got 7 ideas. Maybe we can try to get them done in 7 minutes. Let's try to get it, okay? 1 per minute. Let's go. 1, I think a good leader needs to be secure. Maybe I can encourage somebody today. Don't be insecure. You got to know who you are, and you got to know whose you are. This is very important. Paul, when he addresses Timothy, we're going through, as leaders at our church, we're going through 2 Timothy, and it seems to be that Timothy is insecure. He's insecure about his ministry. He's insecure about his age. He's insecure about his mentor, Paul, being stuck in prison. What does that say of me if my leader's in prison? Seems to be that he's insecure. And Paul says, no. Right now is not the time to be insecure. Now is the time to stand up and to go after this thing. I think insecurity can show up in a few different ways. It turns into pride, and pride can show itself in overcompensating and leading, ruling over people, putting your thumb on people. I'm better than people. Or it could even show itself in the opposite way, where you begin to shrink back in your ministry and hide and, woe is me. I can't do this. God hasn't gifted me. No. You got to know today that if God has called you, you can be secure in who you are, and you can be secure in whose you are. He has called you. He has gifted you, and you are here on purpose for a purpose. And so you as a leader need to be secure. Write this down. Number 2. Communication. I think every leader needs to learn the art of communication. Now, communication is, I said this to my friend, communication is 2 things. What you say, second part, how you say it. And he encouraged me, maybe you could add on not just what you say and how you say it, but when you say it. And I think this is so important. As leaders, I'm talking to church leaders right now, if you lead in some other capacity, you're still called, if you're a believer, to shine Jesus' light, to lead and to show Jesus. And so we have the best message. Like, this message transforms lives. It takes broken people and makes them whole. This is the best message ever. And so we have the best message, yet if you don't know how to share the message, if you don't know the way in which you speak the message, it's not going to be productive. If I'm talking to my wife, I might be saying something loving, but hear me, most girls will say this. If you're a girl, say it with me. It doesn't just matter what you say, it is how you say it. it's important. My wife's amening me, clapping me in the back. It's important because what you say is great. But if you say it in a wrong way, it could be interpreted wrong. It could hurt people's feelings. Hear me. You have the best message. Our message can change people. Our message will save people. Yeah, we need to learn how to communicate this message. If you're a youth pastor here and you're preaching the gospel, you got the best message. Yet if you're using these and thous and thys and you're still speaking language that was made when you were young, you're not really going to reach the young people. And so what you say, the gospel. How you say it, important. And when you say it. Now, I don't think that this has to do with just the gospel, but maybe this can just be communication in general. Communication, you got to learn what to say, when to say, and how to say it. Think about that. I think that's important. So, number 1, we had be careful of insecurity. Number 2, communication. Let's go on. Number 3, maybe write this down. Flexibility. If you're a leader, you got to learn to be flexible. Things are going to come at us. You can't change what comes at you, but hear me today, you can change how you react to what comes at you. You can't always choose the situations that you find yourself in, but you can choose how you're going to react, how you're going to be flexible in the situation. You know, right now, maybe you're watching this at a different time. COVID-19, this is the season that we're in. I don't think anybody saw this coming besides Bill Gates and maybe some of his workers, But guys, I don't think anyone saw this coming yet. We can't choose what comes at us, but we can choose how we will deal with the situation in front of us. We need to be obedient and flexible in the season. I shared this on a podcast before, but I saw this on Facebook. It was a pastor, and it was a screenshot, and the pastor was talking to his leaders at his church, and he was saying, they're not doing any live streams at church. What are we going to do when we get back? They're strategizing. What are we going to do when this COVID-19 thing ends? And to me, it seemed a little weird because they weren't going to do anything for the next few months for live streams, but they were going to do something after. You got to be flexible. You got to learn to be obedient in the season. We're not going to compromise. We're not going to stop pushing the gospel forward. We're not going to stop leading. This is us. We are called to this. We got to be flexible. No matter what situation you're in, no matter where you're leading at, you have to learn to be flexible. Let's keep going. Number 4, be transparent. Be transparent. Paul says this when he's talking to the church. He says, I can't really remember where it is, actually. I don't know the reference. Look it up. Paul says this. He says, I didn't just preach to you guys. I lived my life with you. And I think that's so important. I was preaching in Philemon the other day, and Paul was writing to Philemon, and technically what he was saying, RWJV, Rylan Woodbury-Jones version said this, something like this. I'm paraphrasing. He said, I'm glad that you are effective in sharing the gospel or sharing the truth or something like that. And the word sharing in this context is the word koinonia, which if you've been a leader in the church long enough or you've been in church long enough, you might know what this word means. Koinonia is the idea of not just preaching on a stage or preaching from a mic, but almost the idea of preaching with your life when people are around. To be around people and to live in such a way that your life will preach, that your fellowship will preach, that the way you live your life will show Jesus. We need to be transparent. Leaders aren't just ones who stand from a stage with the mic and talk to people. Good leaders True leadership are people who are able to be transparent. They can see into their lives. They're real. They're open. Now, hear me. When I say be transparent, I don't mean share everything with everyone. We all know these leaders. I knew a specific leader who would do this. He would preach a message and he would share about how him and his wife were fighting. Like that day, she cussed me out, and then I said this, and then she left, and I didn't know if she was gonna come back, and this awkward thing where it's like, I'm being transparent. No, that's not good, okay? When I say transparent, I don't mean share everything with everyone yet. I do think that you should have somebody that you share everything with. Don't share everything with everyone, but do share everything with someone. Now, good leaders aren't going to be standing from the stage and spilling their guts out for everyone to hear. No. But what I mean is, maybe write this down. Maybe this will help. Don't show open wounds to people. Show people your scars. If you're going through something deep right now, and you and your family, or you and your spouse, or you and your whatever, it's hurting, it's open, it's broken. You don't need to share that with everyone. Share it with one person, with two people, with three people. Let's be accountable, but when it's over, that's when we should share. Be open. Leaders aren't perfect. We're growing. We sin. We mess up too, and I think people who are under us need to see that we are real, that we're just as messed up as they are, and that we are broken too. Let's be transparent. So we said, security, be secure, be a secure leader. Number 2, communication. We got to learn the art of communication. Flexibility. We said, be transparent. I got two more. Wait. I can't count. Three more. I said this. This was another thing that came to my mind during that podcast. I said, I think a good leader should be generous. I think a good leader should be generous with his money. I think a good leader should be generous with his time. I think a good leader should be generous with his gifts. We got to be generous. A lot of us church leaders will tell our church that we should be generous. But sometimes us leaders, we're not being that generous either. And I think that if, like what we say, preach or practice what you preach. This is so important that we need to be doing what we say. We don't just stand on a stage and preach to people. We also are generous with our time, spending time with people, being around people. We need to learn to be generous. God so loved the world that he gave his son. He was so generous. He loved us so much, yet he gave his son. And I think that we, because we love God so much and because we love people, we need to learn to be generous with our gifts, with our money, and even with our time. I think it's super important. Maybe think about that. Be generous. Okay, number 6. We're almost done. Number 6, we need to learn to listen. Now, before I said communication, I think a good leader needs to learn the art of communication. But number 6 is listen, and I think this is so important. A good leader needs to know when to communicate and also needs to learn when not to communicate. Maybe should I suggest a good leader needs to know when to open his mouth, and a good leader also needs to know when to close his mouth. Hear me. You will reach people not just by the words that you say, but also the times that you close your mouth and open your ears. That we need to be people who are able to communicate, but also willing to just sit with people and hear from people. People will draw near to you just because you listen. People will want to be around you because you don't just preach at them, you sit there and let them talk. You want to hear about what they think. You want to hear about what their life has looked like. You want to use your ears. You want to listen to them. I think this is so important. Us leaders need to learn to talk, to communicate, but also when to stop talking and to listen. People will draw near to us and draw near to you if you learn the art of listening. Listening is so important. And my last point, we're at the end. I think a good leader needs to learn to be gracious and loving. Now, if you're a leader in any way and you've not been hurt, get ready. A part of leadership is being hurt. A part of leadership is being wronged. A part of leadership is being backstabbed. If you are a leader today and you have not been hurt, get ready. Stand firm because it's coming. Good leaders don't run away from this. They just know it's a part of it. And this is it. And Jesus, I think, is the ultimate example for us to be gracious and loving. When we killed Jesus, when we hated Jesus, when we were enemies of Jesus, it says he died for us. When we were against him, he died for us. He didn't just die for the ones who were nice to him. He didn't just die for the ones who loved him. Yo, I'll choose Mary and Martha. I'll choose the 12 and all these other ones, they can go to hell, you know? No, he said, I'm going to die for the ones who hated me. I think as leaders, we need to get this, that we will be hurt, we will be wronged, people will go out of their way to slander us and make us look bad, yet we need to learn to be gracious. We need to learn to be loving. I think that if Jesus was the ultimate gracious person, if he was the ultimate source of love, source of grace, if he is love, if he is grace, that we need to learn to be like that as well. I think the world acts by justice. You did this, so you get this, you know? Or you hurt me, so I hurt you. Or you did that, so I can't spend another hour with you. I can't spend another minute. You hurt me, we're no longer friends. And I think that us as leaders, let's just end that today. Let's just choose, that's not going to happen in my life. That's not going to happen in my church. That's not going to happen in my organization, whatever it is. We, as me, the leader, and me as the people under me, I am going to lead in such a way that grace and love are normal. So let's just recap. So a good leader is a secure leader, not one who thinks of themselves too highly or thinks of themselves too low, but they know I'm nothing without Jesus, yet God called me. I can be secure in who he is. So we can be secure. We can learn the art of communication. It's part what you say, how you say it, and when you say it. We need to learn the art of communication if we're going to be leaders. A good leader is flexible. Things are going to come at us. Things are going to come our way. Rocks are going to be thrown. Yet it's not about what rock hits you. It's about how you react when it does. And so we need to be flexible. I think that's so important. Number 4, we said transparent. A good leader needs to learn to be transparent, to live their life with people, not be a plastic leader, not be a leader who's different on stage than off stage or in front of camera and off camera. We need to be the same all the time. A leader who is transparent, yet know when to share things and when not to share things, when to open up to the people under us and when not to open up. We need to be accountable to people, yet also not bleed on people, show them our scars and not show them our wounds. I think that's important. Camera died, like I said. Learn learn to be flexible. So we said transparency, learn to be transparent. Number 5, we said be generous. Being a leader isn't just the few hours on Sunday or the few moments on Instagram. Oh, yo, that was good. Let's Insta story it. Let's be a leader now, Leadership is on camera, off camera. There's so many hours that go on that you don't even see on Instagram or that you don't see on YouTube. There's so much time that leaders are putting in to become better, to lead their people, to meet needs. And so let's be generous with our money, with our time, with our gifts, with everything that we have. Let's be generous. Number 6 is listen. We need to learn to communicate, when to open our mouth and when to close our mouth. I think it's a good, important leadership characteristic. And so we need to be conscious of, is this the time to speak or is this the time to just listen? People will draw near to you because of what you can say, but they'll really draw near to you based off the way that you listen to them, the way that you make them feel that they are heard and that you care for them. It is so important. And like we said, finishing off with number 7, be gracious and be loving. I think if Jesus was ultimately, he was the source of grace, if he was the source of love, that we in turn need to be the same. People will draw near to us because we are gracious and loving. And if you're a leader, you'll be hurt, but let's lead with grace and with love. This is who Jesus is, and I think this is who we need to be. So I hope those 7 blessed you. They spoke to you. It was definitely not 7 minutes because I need to learn the art of communication, when to stop talking. But no, I hope it blessed you. If you've never gone through Titus or Timothy or something like that and you want to know what a good leader looks like, put mine away. Go read that. That will speak to you what a good elder, a church leader, a pastor should look like. And those were just my 7, the first thing that came to my head. And I hope they blessed you. So I'm thankful that you guys tuned in for this episode. We'll be coming for more episodes hopefully soon. I love doing this, and so I hope you love it too. Comment below. Let me know if it encouraged you, if it blessed you. And so I'm super glad that we have this platform to do this. So I hope you are blessed. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I love you guys. Leaders lead. Peace.